Okay, so here we are, doing some reactions to subscriber requests. We put a post out there, a little video out there, and said, "Tell us what you want." And you were not shy with telling us what you wanted. So I have a list here that I made a couple days ago, and since then there's been a million more requests. Let me see if I can find it here. The next one was, here it is, skirting on the surface. And that was requested by Radiohead Deep Dive. So I did pull this song up, and I see it's by The Smile. And so I know it's going to be very, very interesting. I do have the lyrics up over here. So let me hit play and see what we got. Wow, that no pun intended. That's pretty deep. That is, and again, no pun intended. Let me turn this off here. Um, wow, wow, I like that. I like that. Let me start by looking at the lyrics here. So let's see what we're talking about. When we realize we have only to dive, and then we're out of here. So I think when I saw that line, I think that's probably summing up what we're talking about here. When we realize we only have to dive, then we're out of here. We're just skirting on the surface. We have only to click our fingers and we'll disappear. We're just skirting on the surface. So what could we be talking about here? Are we talking about life in general, it being fragile or superficial, and how quickly we can be out of here? Is it about our persona in the world? Like kind of withdrawing from the world, things like that. So let me go deeper into this. Dull eyes trying to pull you through the ice, being drawn to the ledge. So are we talking about death? Are we talking about depression? It's there's so many different ways to look at this. When we realize that we are broke and nothing mends, we can drop under the surface. So again, are we talking about, when you become broken by either a relationship or life in general or illness or something, that we can drop under the surface to kind of withdraw, I guess, when we realize that we're merely held in suspension until someone comes along and shakes us. So, is it like a moment of reckoning? Is it like, this false illusion of life having meaning or something, and then all of a sudden something shakes your faith or your vision of reality? This I don't understand. As the pattern lines cross our fingers like a web, do we die upon the surface? So I'm not really sure what to make of that. I see the images and I like the images. I don't know what it is. And then dull eyes. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways. I think for me, I'm sure I've come to realize, like with a lot of the Radiohead stuff, I'll look at the lyrics and I'll gather what I can out of them. And then later on, I'll find out, well, this was written because he was really mad at some person, or this was written because he was going through a divorce, or this was, So I'm sure that there's something behind this. But looking at the video now, which is something I don't often do, but in this case, I think the video definitely, with Tom York, I've come to realize that they don't just, make a video of them dancing. It's just, the video is a part of the art of this project, and so I see a person in this cave, taking that dive and going down, and it looked like at the end, I wasn't sure, it looked like he was walling himself in. So that could be like depression and walling yourself off from the world as a desperate attempt to regain your sanity, or to keep your sanity, or to keep from just losing your mind. So there's so many ways to look at this as like a dystopian thing of like, of going underground when nothing can mend up on the surface, where we were just held in suspension. There's so many different ways to look at this thing. So it's really interesting, and I like stuff that makes you think about, what's the meaning behind this? What does it mean to me? And most importantly for me, what can I learn from this? Whether it's the music or the lyrics or the idea. I think, growing up in the 60s and learning to play guitar through that whole music explosion, a big part of my listening is, what can I learn from this? So that's why I'm intrigued by things that are like this, that are unusual and that are different and that make you think differently, because I think that's an important thing for anybody. And another thing I want to mention is when we were young, when we were in high school, I live in, people will make a joke out of this and say, you're not upstate New York. Well, according to New York City, we're upstate, but there's 8 hours of New York State above us. That's upstate New York. So we're about an hour north of New York. And this area had a lot of iron mines in the Revolutionary War and before. And as kids, we went through all the mines in the area. When somebody found out about a new mine, we would be there. We would go and go down and check them all out. And I know one mine in particular, Bull Mine, it was went down about 1,500 feet. And man, it took you about a half an hour to get to the bottom of this thing. And at the bottom, it actually kept going, but it was filled with water at that point. But there were little tunnels off to the sides here and there. There were cliffs that you had to watch out for and not fall down. There was one spot where there's an air shaft cut into the rock going down about 150 feet. And that air shaft is just unprotected in the middle of the woods. I mean, you could be walking through the woods there and not know it. And you fall through that thing and you're a goner. And by the way, when you get down into that mine, it could be summer and there would still be some ice down at the bottom of there from the winter, because that's how cold it was down there. So anyway, so when I'm watching this video, I'm thinking about, my own experiences and being down in these mines and being excited to explore them, but also terrified that this thing could collapse and you'd be stuck or you'd be trapped down there. And I could think of nothing more horrifying than that. And that's kind of what this song is bringing to mind. There are some times when I'll just wake up in the middle of the night and I'll think about that shaft going straight down and think, oh my God, it's just such a terrifying thing. What were we doing messing around in places like that? Anyway, so when I'm looking at this video, it's just bringing all sorts of things back to my mind. Listening to the music, of course, is very interesting. So I'm sitting here and I'm trying to count it out because, again, being a musician and someone who writes music, I like to know what's going on. And so this part, let me get to the beginning here. So you're hearing a D minor, C, and B flat. When the drums come in, at first I thought, what's going on here? And then I started trying to figure out what the time signature was. So for me, the way I would hear this time signature is 4/4 plus 3/8. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. I know what you're thinking. That makes 11/8. But I have to, when I listen to something like this, I have to listen as someone who needs to pick this up quickly and learn how to play it in an hour. I can't sit there and go 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 1 2 3. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1. That I can wrap my head around. So if you listen to this, that's what I'm hearing. 2 3 4 1 2 3 1. I didn't start at 1. 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3. So that's interesting to me. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4. And why do I say that? Well, that's what the drummer's doing. If you listen to it, he's playing a measure of 4, and then he's doing 3/8 and coming around again. 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 1. So that's the way I'm hearing it. However, it's not what the guitar is doing. The guitar isn't doing that at all. The guitar is doing something like. I'm kind of accentuating the slide between the notes, but 3 4. Oh, that's a G. Typical. Going to the chord just when you think there's a pattern. So the guitar to me sounds like he's playing in 12/8, but just cutting off an eighth note at the end. That's 12/8, but he's doing. So, it's something like that. So there's like a little pause. So it sounds like a 12/8 groove, but there's just, so when you focus on the guitar, it's sounding like a funny 12/8 kind of a thing happening there. But when you listen to the drums, you're hearing 11/8. So it is 11/8 or 4/4 and 3/8, however you want to think of it. And none of that really matters. It's just, if you're a musician and you want to know, how to take it apart. When I was a kid, I took everything apart, man. Everything I had, toys, radios, tape recorders. I wanted to know how it worked. Take it apart. I want to see how this thing works. So I do the same thing with music. I like to tear it apart and see what happens. The chord progressions are interesting. So you had D minor, something like that. And then every once in a while, he'd go to that G chord. And that's interesting because that adds a fresh new sound in there. Because in this key of D minor, you have a B flat. But you play this G chord, and now all of a sudden there's a G natural in there, which is just a fresh sound to your ear. So that's interesting. And then there were a couple of spots, like kind of like a bridge, where they actually went down to an F chord, to a G, and then a B flat. And then I was hearing like G minor nines and things like that. So let's take a listen what that's all about. Now we got an echo, a delayed guitar part that's repeating, I think, one bar behind. It's hard to hear what it is because it makes my brain want to explode. It's 11/8 of a bar, 11 behind. We got G minor 9, A minor, F, B flat, back to D minor, C, back to C, G, nice, back to B flat, back to the G, so he does that twice. F, G, back to D minor. Typical. Once you think you hear a pattern, and you're like, oh yeah, I got this. I know what's going to happen this time around. No, you don't. We got that delayed part again. Those flute sounds above. Really nice. That's really pretty. G minor 9, A minor, F, B flat, G minor 9, A minor 9, A minor, F, B flat, G minor, F, suspended kind of. I heard a B flat in that F chord somehow. kind of low. So it's almost like I'm kind of interesting. It's hard to play it on its own because you wanna even out the bar. That's interesting. That sound there at the end, that was also in the middle. It sounded like, this low rumbling sound, almost like, like an elevator or a railroad car or something going through the mine, or an earthquake, or that low of a frequency that really gives you that sense of isolation and being below ground and in this isolated, scary, lonely situation. So yeah, really, really interesting song. And like I said before, it's a song where, hey, it sounds nice. If that's as far as you want to take it, it's a song that you can listen to and say, man, I like this. I like the words. I like the way I feel when I listen to this. But if you tear it apart, and you're an experimenter like me, I wanted to be Thomas Edison when I was a kid. I was like so in awe of Thomas Edison. I thought, wow, to be able to invent things, and so all I did was tear things apart. And it just got me in a lot of trouble. So I like to do the same thing with music and just tear it apart and listen to and see what makes it tick. For me, it gives me a greater appreciation of the music because I start to get a glimpse into the mind of the composer. And that I enjoy that. To me, that's a really a whole nother dimension to the song that I really like. So anyway, the smile, skirting on the surface. That's what we're all doing up here, skirting on the surface. You ever see those little bugs? They're not the water bugs. The water bugs are the ones that are underwater, but they're like little mosquito-y looking things with these little long, skinny legs. And they just dart around on top of the water, like they walk on top of the water. That's what they're doing, and maybe that's what we're all doing, just skirting on the surface. So anyway, guys, thank you, and let me get to the next one. See you in a little bit.